What the... Okay. Wow. This chapter was incredible. There's just so much to unpack here, I don't even know where to get started. Hold on tight, folks, this is gonna be a wild one. Chapter 954 of One Piece is out, and holy shit, I'm actually still a little bit speechless at all that has happened in this chapter, but I will try my best to work my way through everything with you guys. Today, more so than ever, I'm dying to hear your thoughts about this chapter and answer your questions, so definitely make sure to drop a comment and maybe even a like. But now let's dive right into this deep pool of new events and revelations together. First of all, we have to note that in this chapter alone, several days have passed. It appears as if Oda is really pushing hard towards the battle on Onigashima. And if you ask me, it doesn't look like the battle will be the final battle of the arc, but rather in the middle. In other words, I would bet my tail that Act 3 of Wano will be the raid on Onigashima. Now, even though the chapter completely escalates towards the end, Oda pretends on the first page as if we would just have another chill continuation of the events in Ringo. We see Hiyori, Zoro and Kawamatsu together in the hideout after the princess just offered Zoro her father's sword Enma. Now, something that I kind of forgot to mention in my last review is that it keeps looking more and more like Zoro might not only have a connection to Wano, but as many people speculated, might actually be from there. Or, to be more precise, it looks like Zoro might be part of the family that ruled over the Ringo region, based on his close resemblance to Ryuma and the former daimyo there. It really looks like Oda has bigger plans for our swordsman. When Hiyori offered Zoro Enma in exchange for Shusui, many people expected Zoro to decline, since the blade was given to him willingly by Ryuma himself. But Zoro really has changed a lot over time. He has become so considerate and understanding of people since the time skip that he respects the meaning Shusui has for Wano and decides to accept Hiyori's offer. And even though we don't see the trade taking place, as I take it, starting with this chapter Zoro is now wielding Enma instead of Shusui. But let me know if you think differently. Now, while some of you might be disappointed in Zoro's decision, I think it's much rather a testament to his character. See it this way, Zoro is now not only strong and badass, but actually has developed and matured as a character. I personally was as pleased as I was surprised by his choice. But make sure to let me know your thoughts on this matter. Finally, we also learned from Hiyori that Oden wielded a second high-grade sword that he left to Momonosuke before his death. So, without our knowledge, Momo was in possession of a Meito-grade sword that we can see him carry later on in this chapter. But now, we leave Ringo and move to the Flower Capital, where we find an unexpected scene. Instead of Law being tortured by Hawkins, the situation is actually reversed. Law has already managed to somehow break out of his chains and overwhelm his fellow Supernova. Or to be more precise, he has dismantled Hawkins completely. Finally, we get an answer to what happened to the alliance between Kid, Hawkins and Apu. As it turns out, Apu, who we only get to see in this chapter for the very first time since coming to Wano, had actually already been working for Kaido. He had set up Kid and Hawkins so the Yonko would be able to recruit them into his ranks as well. And as we figured, Hawkins read his cards and saw a 0% chance of survival if he did not join Kaido's crew. Kid, however, tried to face the monster head on and was taken out. No wonder then that Kid has been so enraged about this alliance. As we have speculated before, Kaido has a knack for breaking people's will, either physically, as he tried to do with Kid and Luffy, or by blackmail, as he did with Killer. Basically, Kid's subordinates would have had to work for him and Orochi, or else. When asked about his relationship to the Straw Hats, Law decides to remain silent. No doubt that Oda tries to suggest that Law might have lost faith in the alliance. But right now, I don't see any logical reason for Law to betray Luffy. But maybe I'm wrong, and he has his own plan. Though it would surprise me after all they've been through together. Also, I'm really not sure how to interpret that slashing panel. But I really hope that Law simply dismantled Hawkins a little more, because it looked an awful lot like he just finished him off right there, and I really want to see more of Hawkins in the future. Finally, we see Law stepping out of the cell and being watched by someone in the hallway. My biggest guess here would be that this is Drake, and I would assume that he was the one to overwhelm Hawkins and free Law to follow his own agenda. It might be very likely that Drake is still working undercover for the world government after all, but it might be someone else entirely as well. Our next stop is Udon Prison, which by now has been turned into a pure training ground for Luffy. Under the supervision of Hyogoro, Luffy is using the remaining days until the battle to hone his newly developed armament haki. After all this training he has been getting lately, I really wonder how he will stand compared to someone like Kaido. But right now, I still don't think that Luffy would be able to stand face to face with one of the Yonko. The Fire Festival will be the middle of the arc, and I don't see Luffy finishing Kaido off in Act 3. But what do you think? Next on, we see the other preparations happening all over Wano, supervised by Kinemon. Franky is repairing the fleet of ships collected by Shutenmaru together with Usopp and some mink and samurai craftsmen. Same as with Chopper, I'm really happy to see Franky's true role in the crew being relevant again. Meanwhile, the heads of the Yakuza are also busy preparing. While some are retrieving the weapons collected by Kawamatsu and Onimaru from the graveyard in Ringo, others transport them to Udon Prison, where they are prepared by Hyogoro and his men. Slowly but steadily, all the forces are gathering, and we see most of the Straw Hats, with the exception of Luffy, Franky and Usopp, joining the strategy meeting being held by Kinemon. Even Zoro has made his way back to Curry, leaving Hiyori behind since she doesn't want to meet her brother yet, I assume. Apart from Denjiro and Nekomamushi, all of the 9 Red Scabbards have now also gathered in one spot. We now get an explanation for the hidden message distributed to the followers of the Kozuki. Since all ports in Wano are named after animals, the snake was meant to indicate that the meeting place would be the Snake Harbor in Hakumai. With the legs added by Yasu though, the snake turned into a lizard, making the new meeting point the port in Udon. Now, this doesn't really change my opinion that that's a stupid secret message, because still anyone knowledgeable about Wano would be smart enough to understand it. But maybe since Yasu tried to portray the whole thing as a hoax before his execution, the Shogun's people won't bother following up on the research. I don't know. Much more important than this, at least in my eyes, is the next revelation we get, and that is nothing less than the geographic layout of the island Wano. How I've waited for this one. As we learn, Wano is actually located on a sort of platform-like mountain in the ocean, with waterfalls running down its side. As a result, there are 2 ways to enter the country. Either you let yourself being pulled up by the carps, which as we know can be kind of a gamble, or you take the hidden entrance behind the waterfall that is being guarded by Kaido's men. Inside the cave, there then is a gondola, similar to the ones on the side of the Red Line, that then pull you up to the mainland. The exit here is also located in Hakumai, close to the flower capital, and the first person we see using this path is no one less than Apu. And as Apu leaves for Onigashima, we can see 2 kids watching him and explaining in terror that this is one of the so-called numbers of Kaido. And just as I was wondering if that meant that there were 9 or even more strong members in Kaido's crew, we get to see their awesome monster silhouettes on the next page. I mean, wow guys, just like that, Oda has pulled out a whole bunch of new top tier fighters from Kaido's crew. And since they seem to be well respected by King and Queen, I would assume that they are definitely no joke. That has me so hyped up, because I was really afraid that page 1 was already the next strongest that we would see, apart from the Calamities. But this changes of course everything, and it gives us so much more anticipation for the battles to come. The fact that they all really look monster-like really makes me hope that we have some amazing zone fruits in there as well. The beast pirates slowly really start to look like beasts to me. And since Apu is also part of the numbers, I really wonder how strong he truly is. Now, usually I would say that Oda has really managed to set up an amazing battle with 2 strong sides here, if not for the minor detail at the end of the chapter where Big Mom and Kaido form a fucking alliance. What the fuck? Like, really? Damn, I've been on the side of Big Mom teaming up with the Straw Hats for quite some time, but this really went the entire opposite direction. 2 Yonko teaming up and planning to overthrow the world? I mean, that's exactly what the world government was always trying to prevent, no? Damn. Now, obviously, Luffy is not gonna die in the 3rd act of Wano, and we will finish the story of One Piece following the adventures of Lin Lin and Kaido, at least I think. But I think that we can say for certain that, as my man Mr. Morch has theorized before, the Fire Festival will end in complete disaster for the Alliance. And it makes it so much more likely that the world government, as well as other Yonko, might end up finding their way into Wano. I mean, what other options are there to take on these two combined? Except, of course, if Big Mom does indeed feel friendly towards the Straw Hats now and would protect them from Kaido in the end. But given what we have seen in recent chapters, that's just not something I can really argue for comfortably right now. This chapter just put the high stakes we already had for this arc even higher. I'm literally blown away. I was lying on the floor after I read this. Okay, but let's try to recap this bad boy of a chapter somehow. We started off with the minor detail that Zoro now apparently carries a legendary sword and has given Shusui back to Wano. Minor detail. Then we got Law breaking out of prison, somehow leaving behind more questions than got answered. How the hell did he get out? Who helped him? And did he kill Hawkins? And will he stay faithful to Luffy? We also saw Luffy heavily training for his next encounter with Kaido, suggesting a real power-up. And we also got to see all the preparations taking place across Wano. We got the true outlay of the island revealed, and saw Apu arriving together with a few other nice guys. Only that these beasts turned out to be none less than some of Kaido's top tier fighters that somehow have never been mentioned before. We now have 9 or 10 numbers that just turned around the stakes completely. But was that the biggest twist in this crazy chapter? Of course not. Big Mom and freaking Kaido have now joined forces to form a Yonko alliance. So many thoughts in my head right now. All in all guys, this chapter might have been the best one in Wano so far, and I think it proves my point about how good this arc will turn out to be in the end. All the setup and side story will be worth it in the end and give it an even greater feeling, trust me. But now I must hear your thoughts and opinions about this chapter. Let's talk about what just happened together. I'm curious if you see the things as me or completely different. And maybe I even missed a detail in this crazy mess of reveals. So definitely don't forget to leave your comment and also leave a like in case you enjoyed today's review. But of course, as always, you can also dislike, don't share and unsubscribe. It's a free world, people, though Big Mom and Kaido might be on their way to change that. I hope to see you around next time, and until then, have a great week.